everybody, welcome back to the Zen Perry Project. Today on the show we have RICKSHAW Billy's Burger Patrol. We haven't done an episode in like 2 months, so this is going to be a lot of fun. You guys are incredible, and like I said earlier, it's the day before Thanksgiving, and we're thankful for you guys. Making some sweet riffs, some sweet drumming, and right now we have Leo and Sean. Leo on guitar and vocals, and Sean's on drums. Beast on the drums, and yeah, thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Just kind of want to get into what you're going to be doing soon. You're going to be doing some touring, a few different stints. First is in support of King Buffalo. That starts in December 4th in Omaha. Then you go to the 20th in Kansas, and you have a bunch of dates all over the place in between there. How'd you get involved with them?
Or you could take it, Sean.
Yeah. Well, so King Buffalo, they're homies with our homies in the Sword. And
Right.
so a couple years ago we did some support stuff with them, and then that went really well, and we wanted to get with a booking agency at the time, and so our manager talked with their agent, short version there. And then so that's kind of how one of the ways we got the in onto High Road. And so now this is the first time we've gotten the chance to go back out with them. They're super chill dudes. It's good music. It's a good time.
Their agent lived in Austin. So we got back from from that like 4-day stint with King Buffalo. We were just trying to get on the agency and trying to impress him enough to sign us on. It took a few shows from him coming out and checking us out to convince him of that. So we've been with the High Road. We've been with High Road for this will almost be year 3. It'll be year 3 going into 2025. But this is probably the biggest support. This is the biggest support we've done with them.
That's awesome. And you guys were there for the Sword reuniting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're really good friends of ours. So yeah, they had requested us to be on that show at Levitation with Pentagram and the Well. We also, around that same time we did the King Buffalo shows, we were out doing some support dates with the Sword on their off dates with the Primus. They were out with Primus, and we were doing all the dates Primus wasn't doing, which were 4 dates in the Southeast. So yeah, I don't know. I still don't know if they're actually reuniting or not, but I know they're playing a show in town in Austin on New Year's Eve, so it seems like everything's going positively, but I really have no idea.
Yeah, because I also just saw they announced they're doing Baton Rouge in January. So
oh shit, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe everything's cool.
Well, this will be out by then, so yeah, I would love to see them. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, they're great guys.
And then you're starting your second stint of the tour, the end of January, then through the 16th, and you're going to be coming to Mercury Lounge and TVI with Lift Critic. That's our good boys. We're playing a show with them, actually, December 14th, plugging our own stuff at Bridge and Tunnel Brewery with their side project, Post No Bills. But yeah, cannot wait to see you guys out here. I have not seen you yet. I don't think Michael has either, right?
I have not.
Yeah.
Very excited too.
Yeah, and this is as much as we've seen, this kind of seems like the most touring stuff back to back that you've done for a while. How does it feel to get back out on the road and being booked out, and you're going to Europe as well?
Yeah, we've been waiting on this for a while. With the release of Big Dumb Riffs in March, we did West Coast and East Coast circuit, and then we did our festival that we do in Austin every year, Big Dumb Fest. And then we had a bit of an open summer, which wasn't ideal for us, but this is where we're heading into now. Is we're going to be, we've announced the December tour and the February tour. There's more stuff that's going to be announced we haven't announced yet. So that's all I can really say about it. But we're about to be super busy for the next 7 months, and definitely something we've been waiting and preparing for. And then we had that tour that we just did in September, October, that was Southeast and Midwest, lower Midwest area. Lots of B and C tier markets that we needed to hit. This one with King Buffalo is also a B market, a lot of new venues, a lot of new cities for us. It sounds like they're all selling really well, so we're happy to just like expand on what we've been doing, and not just hitting the big markets. Like when we do our solo, our solo tours where we're headlining 100 to 200 cap venues. We're out with King Buffalo doing 3, 4, 500 cap venues. That next time we go through these bigger markets, we'll be able to sell more. And then with the Lip Critic thing too, that's our first tour. We will have a support band with us, and we love those guys. Yeah. We think that bill is going to be so interesting to cross-contaminate our crowd. And we just are generally just like fans of each other, so that's going to be really fun.
They're so good. Yeah, I don't have enough good things to say about those guys, and cannot wait for you to do that. What do you anything in particular you're really psyched to play? Also, that's the first time I've heard like B and C markets. I mean, it inherently makes sense.
Yeah, it also I don't mean to make it sound like a negative thing. It's just the smaller markets that aren't like New York, Boston. It's just the way the industry assigns them as.
Yeah,
but it makes more sense to be able to fill them in. Like we always do Cleveland, and we always do like Chicago and Detroit. But it's like the last tour we did, Indianapolis and Cincinnati and Columbus. To like now when we go back on the road, we don't have to do 6-hour to 8-hour drives. We can go in each market and be out longer. Ideally, it just takes a long time to build that structure up and build that fan base up.
Interesting. What did you have something to say about that, Sean?
Oh no, yeah, it was basically what he was saying. Yeah,
it's super interesting. Yeah, it totally makes sense. But yeah, that's so anywhere in particular you guys are like stoked to see or hit for the first time on this that you haven't before?
I mean, playing in Joshua Tree in Pioneer Town, that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been hearing good things about that spot for ages, and then all our homies are telling us how great the venue is, how great the town is. Like, that's going to be a blast.
That's where we're from, is like San Diego. So I'd always take the Jeep out to Joshua Tree and just go. It's the best. Very excited for you guys. And you guys are gonna fit there so well. They're gonna fucking love you out there.
We've heard good things about San Diego as well. For me, Santa Fe, I'm just excited to go see the city of Santa Fe. My number one, other than Pioneer Town, on this upcoming tour.
Yeah, and then I've never been to Vegas, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
and you're getting to play it. You're not just going.
Yeah, and we're playing at a venue that's owned by a venue in town that we used to play all the time called Swan Dive. It's Vegas's Swan Dive. So I'm interested to see how like similar or how it's run, or
Yeah.
Well, and it's like the sister bar venue, so you're gonna have promoting it more because they're like, yeah, these are our boys.
Yeah, there could be some familiarity there already, which should be great.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, and also getting to go to Vegas and maybe make a few dollars and not just lose thousands is going to be a unique experience right there for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking sick. Well, very, very happy you guys are getting out there. It's enough of the promo stuff. Yeah, and also Big Dumb Riffs just came out, and holy shit, that album start to finish is so incredible. I'm always, once I get to the end of it, I'm like, wait, did it just go by again? Like
yeah, it was definitely by design to just have it be like a face melter, a 30-minute or whatever. How long is it? 22 minutes?
I think it's 22 minutes.
Face melter, and then just so you have to just keep playing it.
But it has, it is, yes, that 1,000,000%, but it has some like introspective tracks on it. It has some really interesting, like, kind of brings them. It's how crazy that you could like pack that much music into 22 minutes. And yeah, it's of course you guys, but there's also like this intricateness that really like makes it flow like a journey. So yeah, congrats on that, and everybody go check it out if you haven't listened to it yet. But yeah, I think that's enough promo. Anything else you guys need to mention right here at the top?
I don't think so.
I think that covers it pretty much. Yeah.
Stuff, I guess. Sorry, what did you say, Sean?
Oh, I was going to say, I think that covers it. Yeah, we got the touring, and
Nailed it. All right. Let's get it. How did you individually each separately get into music? Like it starting off way before any of this was a thing.
Well, I mean, I started playing because in middle school, like going into sixth grade, they made us pick like either had to do concert band or choir or like a general music class. And I didn't want to do choir or general music. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do band. And I didn't really want to put any effort into it. And I had seen people play concert bass drum before. So I was like, okay, that seems the easiest way to not have to do anything. And then I started taking lessons and stuff. And my teacher was great. And he started showing me rock and roll music. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun. And then, yeah.
What was your first band? When did you actually start like playing shows in front of people as a drummer?
I started playing probably end of end of eighth grade. So it would have been like 13 or 14. And I think the first show I played was at my friend's older sister's graduation party at the YMCA.
That's hot.
Yeah. We opened for their uncle's like 90s R&B cover band thing.
Sick. Sounds like a good time.
It was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that just took you off and you were just playing in bands after that, or were you mostly in
Yeah.
one band or just
I did lots of bands through high school and through college and the first, bit that I moved here, and then now I've been kind of taking it like slightly slower. I definitely don't do it, kind of purposely don't do any of like, not to say not original music, but I'm not involving myself in any bands right now that like require rehearsals and things like that. Like I'll do mostly like honky tonk gigs where it's just like, all right, show up, play 2 hours, learn some covers, learn some originals. No one needs to rehearse it. Like just
yeah.
run of the mill, like look, no stress kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's you guys are out in Austin, so that's far.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Sounds fun. And
Yeah, it's not a bad time.
yeah. And how about Leo? Leo, how'd you get into music? What was your first sort of experiences with it?
I mean, there were moments like when I was younger that I'd catch glimpses of like, I mean, I specifically remember like my family wasn't into music enough for me to like want to pursue much. I remember like hearing like the Doors and ZZ Top and stuff like what from my dad, and just jamming on stuff like that. Stuff I started finding myself when I was like buying cassettes, like back in the '90s, was like, Green Day or Rage Against the Machine, like B-side kind of Chili Peppers stuff. And then like the Prodigy, Rammstein were like, when that came out in like 96 ish, were like big for me. Just like the gothy or like EDM stuff, which still I like, but started playing guitar in seventh grade. That was mostly because I had a friend who had older brothers, and they'd be jamming out and playing guitar, like in the attic of their house, and I'd always hear them playing or like just playing metal music or like actually like either listening to or playing. I remember hearing Pantera's Walk for the first time and having it be like a crucial moment. I remember going up into that attic and watching this kid just like shredding like Leonard Skinner solos, and that being very impressionable for me to be like, I want to learn how to play guitar. I want to learn how to do this. So from there, it turned into like loving Metallica and wanting to just play Metallica shit. So my first band was actually a Metallica cover band that played at like our eighth grade like talent show fucking thing or whatever. We were called Metal Militia, and then in high school, my first like real band, I guess, was a band called Quartered, and that was just like death metal-y, grindcore, very Pantera and Meshuggah influenced, like this kind of mathy, proggy stuff, I guess. So,
Is that when you started kind of getting into the 8-string guitar? Because when I first saw that you guys played with an eight-string guitar, I was shocked. I mean, makes sense, but once
yeah.
I started really listening to the music, but Um,
Not yet. I don't think eight string technically existed yet. I mean, maybe like I think when Meshuggah recorded the album Nothing, which was 2002 or 2003, they had just had Lundgren, I think that's the name or the name of the brand, the company, build them the eight string guitars, but they recorded them without them at first because there was intonation issues. So they like it was just too slinky sounding. So they just used extended range down tuned seven strings and then re-recorded it and released it a couple years later. So I didn't get an eight string. I had a seven string in maybe like my junior year of high school. It didn't click with me the same way. I got an eight string guitar when I was 19. This is like back in the MySpace days and shit too. I tried out for a band. I don't know if any like a lot of people don't remember this band, but they were like a huge influence on me. The Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza. Um, they were out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I hit him up on MySpace and was like, asked him for a tryout because I saw that they lost their bass player and guitar player. Months went by, didn't hear anything back. And then they're like, actually, yeah. And then I learned a bunch of shit. And then I flew out to St. Louis where they were all practicing and had to buy an eight string guitar for that reason because they were moving towards eight string guitar. And then I just kept playing it after that whole thing kind of fell through. So
that's wild. I uh I feel like I have way more questions than I should about the eight string guitar. I guess
I mean, yeah, it's
maybe
definitely like very different than. I mean, not. I wouldn't say very different. It's just I know it's hard for a lot of most guitar players to wrap their head around how it feels or how big the neck is, or it's very much a different instrument. And I don't really look at it. I wouldn't say I look at it like a guitar. I look at it more as a percussive or like a bass instrument. It kind of incorporates all of it into one tool.
yeah, I'm a drummer. I'm not even a guitarist, but like
Mhm.
I still yeah, it's the way I've never seen anybody play it like that where you're making just sick riffs and you have so much space in between stuff. When people see an eight
Yeah,
string guitar, first thing they think of is like, oh God. You
yeah,
know,
no, like,
in
yeah, it's
certain
gonna be
contexts,
Jesse,
especially
Pog stuff.
if you show up to like a more of a less a blues rock show and somebody pulls out an eight string, you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah. No, I hope I'm helping diffuse the bad name that eight string guitar has, or whatever. I mean, I don't care, but
Yeah.
I like showing up and not doing what people think I'm going to do with it because it's simple. It's rhythmically interesting. What I'm playing isn't interesting. It's the rhythm of it and the spacing that Sean and Aaron fill in. That's more interesting than what I'm necessarily doing. I'm just like, you know, uh, I'm trying to be more aware of the whole structure of the song and not just what I'm riffing or I don't even like playing solos or anything. I just like I like just diffusing the idea of what a guitar player is supposed to be or whatever the rules are. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it lends itself. It's like you're almost using it almost like a synthesizer where you can go a lot lower. You're filling in
Oh
gaps.
yeah.
Yeah, just like you said. How did you two end up first jamming together, or did you write the music first? Like when did Sean get involved? Like how when did this all come together, and what was it like first kind of playing together and like developing your style?
Well, I mean, we basically when we moved to Austin, we were both from Boston, from around Boston, and we moved down here separately, but ended up living in the same apartment complex, like, above and below each other. And we got to talking at a party one night, and then eventually we got some homies together, and we were playing in this like shock punk band kind of thing. And then towards the end of that, Leo was writing some other stuff that turned out to be the early Burger Patrol stuff, and he posted some of it up on Facebook, and I was like, yo, this is pretty fucking sick. Like, let's get in on some of this. And so we just kind of started jamming it, and he kept writing it, and we brought some other people in, and then some more other people in, and then a couple other people a couple other times. But yeah, it's just, we kind of started jamming on the early stuff and then started gigging, and it's just felt really right for 8 years now. So
Hasn't stopped at all. I can't say we've really stopped much, even when
Yeah.
we are home and writing or whatever. Like there's plenty to always be doing. But yeah, that's the full story.
Yeah. What was the
Yeah.
original? Because like you were playing in other projects. What was like kind of the original thing? Because I imagine you probably made some programmed drums and just like kind of for your first early things and just made riffs that were
The
specifically going to be
Oh yeah,
rickshaw.
I've always done that. I
Yeah.
went to school for audio engineering, so I just like I'm on Pro Tools with Superior Drummer, and I'm just tracking stuff and tracking ideas. I have hundreds of ideas at this point that either see the light of day or don't. That's how I usually write. Um, or how I had written in the past was I'm this is what I'm just sitting here like on like a pretty basic setup, and then track stuff and hang out, and then I show Aaron and Sean, and they're like cool or not cool. But we've grown into more of Aaron gets more involved in the process. Sean's writing drum stuff. Like we're at this point now we're understanding like what the sound is or what the sound is going to be for the next record. So we're all presenting ideas and using them, and that's been really cool. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of just like me late at night drum sampling and just riffing and seeing if I can find something cool.
And are you guys on to your next record? Is that something that's in the works or?
Oh yeah, we've been writing. I mean, I'm always writing stuff. I would say we've had a couple songs that are going to be on this next record that we had written before Big Dumb Riffs even came out. Um, this whole summer, Aaron and I have been writing a lot of stuff. Um, as far as getting together and working through a lot of it, we haven't done that much, but we have a ton of ideas and a ton of content that we can shuffle through and hopefully piece this record together pretty quickly. To have we'll have something out next year. I just don't know what. Like we'll be gone most of the beginning of next year, so it'll be after that. With all the PR and marketing stuff you have to do to, you got to do a music video, and you got to do a single, and you got to do this and that. So like, it won't be out as quickly as I wish it could be, but there will be something coming out next year, and it's been worked on. It's been being worked on for the last year, pretty much, I guess.
Yeah. And I feel like you guys have like changed over time for sure, but it's also the, common thread of you guys sound like you for sure.
Hmm.
What was like kind of the original plan? Was it trying to be like more like on the punk or metal aspect? Because I feel like, Doom Wop, I think actually extremely describes you, but like, and like, how did you see playing drums for Sean when you guys were first like doing this together? Was there any like things that came to mind of like kind of what the direction you were trying to go? Any and all,
Well,
anything that sparks anything.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've always kind of wanted it to be. It's always needed to be like a groovy thing. Like no matter how heavy it gets, it needs to. It's something we've always agreed on that like everything we do has got to, in its own way, shape, or form, it's got to groove. And so, like, if it being a lot of times coming from like kind of the Phil Rudd school of like, less is more, or the fact that like for a long time, one of the things we were really saying a lot was we wanted this like this very like the wall of sound kind of deal. And so I would try to be thinking about parts that like would kind of while their amps are distorting and the chugging's happening, like what would keep, you know, maintaining that wall. So like I used to I used to do a lot of times where I just figure out like if I could do like I did it a lot on big on Burger Babes of like doing drum fills while still playing the cymbals and like so there's maintaining that like constant line kind of through everything. But on my end, it's really, and we're kind of stretching out on it now, which is tight. But especially on like the Doom Wop and Burger Babes and Grease Beast and stuff, was just trying to like be as like as solid of a foundation with some like neat shit here and there, but really just like doing very much like the rock and roll drummer, but with my own sort of, more ghost notes than I see people doing these days, or like more of like a, Leo's always been really good in the way that I interpret music, writing riffs that open themselves up for like 2 bar phrases instead of 1 bar phrases. So throwing in a little bit of that, like that hip hop feel where like the backbeat stays the same, but the kick pattern, it's a 2 bar pattern instead of a 1 bar pattern. Like a lot of stuff like, sometimes playing just on the ones and threes with the kick drum for a space reason, and other times like leaving that one out in the second bar. So you get this flow where everything's moving longer. Just kind of ideas like that.
It's like keeping familiarity with what people like can groove to, but also throwing in little pieces of ear candy that to kind of make it a little bit more like, oh shit, like people that don't know anything about music can bop around and enjoy it, and people that like music are like, oh, I like that you did that little fucking thing right there that you like wouldn't expected, but not like in a flashy, glammy way, like in just like a really tastefully like, oh,
just like
gone.
Yeah, you're just reinventing the riff or the pattern or the drum beat or whatever, like for like a just in when it needs to be. Yeah, I think that's like more the thing that because I've been listening to you guys so much over the last few days, but that's like the thing I'm picking up on. It's almost like you're holding back most of the time, just like ready, and then every once in a while you just fucking throw a jab in there, or whatever. And
it hits. And another way that I like to think about it too is like I always think of not that I love the band all that much, but there's when that Hell Yeah record came out, that band that Vinnie Paul did after Damage Plan. There's like one drum fill in the chorus where like I almost crashed my car so many times right after getting my driver's license, like air drumming that fucking fill. And so it's just like, trying to, and again, it's, with the way Leo writes riffs, there's a lot of hookiness in the guitar and the vocal. So just kind of like taking that hook and finding a way to apply it inside the drums where like maybe it doesn't necessarily stand out if you're just a person throwing on the record and listening to it. But if you've got the ear of a musician, it's like, oh, that's kind of like, this grabs at this, or this is playing with that, or moving with it. Right. And again, just trying to keep that, that wall of sound existing and that groove train rolling, and really just trying to make sure, and just to keep people, moving and dancing and shit. Yeah.
Because there aren't a lot of like key changes, or even for Big Dumb Riffs, there's not a lot of riff changes. It's just like one big dumb riff per song that catches you for 90 seconds. So it's like throwing in little, it's not like annoying, but it could be annoying. It's just like making something so simplistically just like fat and groovy that you can just ride. Like you wouldn't be upset if you heard it for 10 minutes straight or something, like, and that's maybe where it goes into a lot of like, there is a lot of like hip hop influence in, I think, all three of our backgrounds that maybe you can't tell like with like my singing style sometimes, but just that hip hop groove and the way that it like, it's, it's usually the same backbeat the whole time. There's something to that I like to lean into or think about when I'm coming in from like my perspective of writing.
Yeah, I can definitely hear with the drums. I can hear with everything. It's just there's so much space. Yet, I could go on and on about that, but there's so much space in your guys' music, and when you
it makes the heavier parts heavier with the space, Yeah,
and then it makes the parts where you kind of flourish out. It makes them.
Yeah. It's hard to not want to play and fill in the space, like because you're not doing like. The space is my main thing is the space is just as important as the notes you're playing, and understanding that back and forth relationship is going to make the parts like flow better.
It's like if it becomes in I think in all our minds, but in my mind for sure, it becomes less heavy when you start filling all that stuff in. It kind of, to me, it detracts from the overall just like the weight of the whole thing, because space is such a weighty thing. And when you choose to ignore it, it just doesn't,
Yeah, I
it
completely
doesn't do the same thing.
I completely agree. And it's so funny because if anybody's just listening to this podcast and they actually haven't heard you guys yet, at the end of the day, like when you guys play shows, it's a party. People are getting down. It's like so
Yeah.
fun to listen to, and like that's the most important thing. But we're talking. I mean, but I know you guys think about it a lot more than that. It's not just like, oh, we party. It's like there's some actual like thought behind this of like restraint and
Yeah.
knowing when to go for it. So
There's the idea of party and the having fun, but you know, it's definitely like our professional career. Like this is
Yeah.
this is my job. Like we're not dicking around in that sense, but the idea of we're putting on the show, we're putting on the party. People are, you know, moshing and having fun. There's no like anger or animosity really spinning around the room like in other maybe aggressive metal bands. I think that's something special that we've seemed to have caught, maybe in the same way that like Primus does that, or you know, that's the only other the only band I can think of at the moment, or maybe like bands like are like yeah, like Viagra Boys, like it's fun, like it's
Yeah.
like, but yeah,
oh yeah, that's fucking cool. I'm gonna ask you one other nerdy question. Um, how do you like for this is anybody listening out there who makes heavy music, how do you balance like because you're on the low strings of the 8 string guitar, you also have a bass in there, how do you actually make it so I can actually hear both of you guys so well? I mean, obviously you're an incredible engineer, but is there anything you're thinking about while you're just writing in the studio together? How do you like make something that's dynamic yet very bass heavy?
sure there is. So I'm just E1 instead of E2, so I'm an octave away from Aaron's low E instead of 2 octaves. So I'm covering kind of his like almost his first two like high strings. Um, he is a very good songwriter and has been probably writing songs longer than I have. Even though he's a lot younger than me. But um, his dad used to like have to like his dad used to make him like write a bunch of songs to like get a new guitar or this and that. I'm not going to tell his story and like
Yeah.
fuck it up, but he is very aware of songwriting and structure, and he's better at theory and knows how to piece things together. So he a lot of times when I'm showing him a riff, he's playing underneath me in a way where it almost sounds like we could be playing 2 8 strings, or he knows when to drop it down where I'm trying to make a part heavier. He's chording a lot where I'm doing single note. So that's another thing that's kind of like a upside down way of guitar and bass playing. He's doing huge chords, he's bending a lot, where I'm just like doing individual stuff on my like low E. So yeah, it's definitely a very thought out dance. And that's you know, when he joined the band in what was that, 2019 or 2020, Sean?
2019. Yeah.
Is where it all kind of started to mold together in a more effective way. And he's a huge gear head. I'm really not. I haven't changed any of my setup or rig like barely ever. I run octaves on both my high and low. I split my signal into 2 signals, a low and a high, so I can turn the low on and off for like big, like dynamic, like low end swells. But I usually keep both of them on all the time. Just depends on drop ins and drop downs or whatever. But my tone is always like very buzzsaw, you know, 5150 or Model T, like very cat scratchy, bitey, tone. Whereas his tone just mirrors that more. It feels we fill in the space and we don't attack each other's space. Again, going back to the space thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sick. I mean, that totally makes sense. And I guess since you talked about gear a little bit, what is like Rickshaw Billy's like what's a pedal that you guys either both have, or what's one that you can't live without? Is there a particular sound? Whatever you're willing to say, by the way.
Oh yeah, I don't care. Like people come up and take pictures of my rig or ask me questions. I'm not hiding anything. There's no secret. The secret is that I play 8 string guitar. Like that's where the tone comes from.
Oh.
And I play passive pickups. I don't play active pickups, which a lot of 8 string guitar players always play active. I play those pickups are particular to my tone as well. But it's just like the way the scale length of the guitar and having that 80 gauge low E string is why it sounds the way it sounds. Mostly it's because nobody plays it. Nobody plays the 8 string. So that's the big part of it. But then octave stuff, like, I mean, just for the fucking, like, just funnily, I use this Earthquaker tentacle pedal for years. I have like a hoof reaper pedal that then turned into this pedal. I just switched over. I didn't put these here on purpose. That's funny that they're here. But Buzzlord gifted me a bunch of shit. They're fucking rad. I just put their octave pedal on my setup, and I love it because it's basically the same thing. It's just an octave up, but it has like an actual 12 dB like gain on it, which I really like. This is I haven't really screwed around with this one a lot yet, but it's basically like a rat pedal. The reason I'm bringing this up because I don't have my pedal board in my room. But, the Sun Life pedal is my entire tone for my low end, which is just a rat pedal and an octave up. So I run an octave up on my low end and my high end. So that's, if anything, that's my little trick of the trade is I just run octave pedals on like hybrid rat pedals through a 5150 and an orange terror bass. Like that's it. So, and then for Aaron, I don't know. Aaron's running a fridge now, and that's like a huge dynamic component. I think there's really nothing that sounds like running through a fridge. So
if anybody started playing an 8-string bass, I feel like at this point they'd just be like, sorry, guitar, they would totally be just taking your whole style.
Well, that's funny too, because everyone's like, well, you're playing an 8-string. What's he playing? He's just playing a 4-string bass in standard. He's playing normal. I'm just an octave lower. So that's usually something that people are surprised by.
Yeah, he's not even in like a down tuning or anything like that. That's crazy.
I mean, well, in Big Dumb Riffs, some of this, I think most of the album is in drop A, which is a strange tuning that he just kind of decided to do, which I think he's still writing some of the stuff in. I've toyed with the idea of tuning my stuff down, but it really gets, at that point, gets too muddy.
Makes sense.
But yeah.
Well, fuck yeah. I mean, now we gotta talk about drums.
Yes.
What are you rocking for your cymbals? Like I mean,
so I've been staunch on I've been using the same Mapex Armory kit for almost 10 years now. I love the thing to death. I was fortunate enough, I got a buddy in town who does drum design and builds drums and stuff. And so as their rigs kept getting bigger and my drums were feeling a little too small, my buddy Tom, that Armory kit, it comes with a 14 and a 16-inch rack tom. And for the longest time, I was playing the 12 and the 14 because we were doing a lot of unmiked stuff. So I'd tune them up high to cut through everything. And then when they got louder and we were doing more mic'd up stuff consistently, I had my buddy Tom go in and he cut my 1412 floor tom. He took an inch off the top and the bottom. So I've got the 1410 rack tom now and the 16 on the floor. I use my worshiper, local Austin guys. My buddy Colby built it for me. It's a 14.8 walnut stave snare. I love the thing absolutely to death. And then it's got the 22-inch kick drum on it, which I really, it's fun playing those 24s and those 26s, but like for what we're doing, like that punch from the 22, it's just so, the directness of it. And I recently started playing with a porthole in my kick drum. That's the biggest change I've made, I think, in the last little while. And then and I love that kit absolutely to death. Like you all get something new at some point, but for right now, just like the mileage I've gotten out of that $900 drum set is unreal. And then I use the Remo, the clear black dot heads. I love those to death, and the P77 on the snare, like everyone's doing. It's just awesome. And then cymbals is a toss up. I'm vibing with Sabian right now because it seems to be lasting longer than the Pisces and the Zildjians and the Minals do. But I'm kind of hodgepodge. I've got for this tour, I'm going to switch. I was using my 15-inch Zildjian like cursive label Avitas hats, but I'm going to bring back my Soul Tone 14.5-inch hats, which I like a lot. And then I've got a 20-inch. I've got the 20-inch old Sabian AA medium ride over here. I just got this Sabian 22-inch Stratus ride, which I really like a lot because I don't really use like the ride cymbal part of the ride cymbal for Burger Patrol. I mostly just use it as a gigantic crash cymbal. So the Stratus one's been really nice for that. But the bell on it's kind of trash, so I did just buy the Zildjian Blast Bell, and that came in yesterday. And it was I was practicing with it, and I ran through the set with it yesterday, and it was fun as hell. So hopefully it sounds good when we get the whole band in there. And then I've just got the 20-inch. I've got an old 20-inch Zildjian medium ride up above the ride cymbal, and then my 19-inch Soul Tone Naturals China, which is honestly my favorite China cymbal that I've ever played in my life. It's like
if it's on the
cuts,
recording,
but
it sounds so good. I completely agree.
It is the one on Big Dumb Riffs. Yeah, we didn't use it on Doomwop because I was using the Zildjian the Ultra Hammered one, which is also a really, really nice China cymbal. But yeah, that Soul Tone one is just it's dirty. It's so good. And it records really well, which is the other thing, because sometimes those bright China cymbals just are garbage when you bring them in the studio. But that one, since it's so dark and it's unlathed and it's got the hand hammering, it's really, really nice. And I pray to God on a regular basis that thing doesn't crack anytime soon.
I cracked my favorite cymbal. It had like a very similar effect, and I have not been able to get the same thing ever again. And
yeah.
But I have two questions. First off, is that you said you started miking the drums more.
And then
you cut the tom. For more volume, for more tone. I'm just like I haven't heard that specific.
Well, so for the miking the drums more thing was just we started doing more clubs that mic the drums.
Yeah. and what did you want out of it that cutting it did for you?
So I wanted more tone. I wanted to be able to get more depth in general out of the tone, and then also have more control of because that 12, it's like I would tune it super high to cut, and then but low it really wouldn't. It just didn't have that depth and really just the feel the feel of playing a big drum, which is a very powerful and primal and caveman kind of thing, but you want to hit big drum and make drum sound go boom, but within reason, because I don't like the 18s. The 18s are a pain in the ass. But yes, and it's like I had never thought of it until Tom was posting stuff that he was resizing a bunch of drums for our friend Chris, and I was like, you can just cut drums up, and he's like, yeah, I take an inch off the top, inch off the bottom, I'll redo the bearing edges, and then it's yours. And I was just like, oh, that's neat. Okay, cool. But yeah, and it's so yeah.
And I said
it worked. It worked great. It worked so well.
Aaron should be jumping in here shortly.
Okay, cool. Well, sick. Well, okay. Well, I guess this goes on to the second thing because you guys wrote this song together, I think, pretty early on. And it goes off of you were talking about the bell of your ride cymbal, and you do use it in this song, Gravedigger. That was the first song I heard by you guys. And holy shit, when I first heard it, I was listening to it about 8 times a day. This is way before I ever thought about doing this interview. This is months and months ago. But dude, the way you stacked that ending and just how it keeps on growing and slightly brings down and keeps on it, and it's
I mean that song. Yeah, when Leo sent me that one, I was like, yeah, this one's gonna fuck. And then I heard the ending, and I just remember being really sold on just just that ride bell, that super open, just old school thrash, just straight mosh bell, But then and especially live, since we do it, I haven't listened to the record in a while. I think we do it longer live than we do it on the record. And like, and just riding through it and again, making like, leaving all that space there and all that, so that all that syncopation and the guitars can do their thing.
Because that's what it is. It's
And then,
putting it down for them, and like, yeah, it's so cool. Such a great song.
yeah, it's that. I mean, that one's been in the set list. I don't think we've not played that since we wrote it.
Yeah.
And
It
I don't
just gets
know.
so heavy at the end, and I mean, now people have a little dance to it, and
Yeah,
become our like staple for closing out the night and stuff. Whether it's the encore or the second to last song or last song, it's always kind of fits in there really well.
yeah.
What were you, kind of what if you had to kind of revisit you creating that riff? What would you say are probably your biggest inspirations for it, and or kind of what headspace were you in? Just because I don't know, it's almost like a Meshuggah song slowed down to like a 16th of the speed, but it works so well. That's kind of the way I see it.
That riff at the end definitely has a Pantera thing to me, just like with the ride, just going like this big like kind of four on the floor sort of feel, but then it has the turnarounds in it too. But that was kind of my idea. Was just like dun 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 dun, which I guess is kind of both Pantera and Meshuggah in different ways. But the rest of that song, I mean, it's definitely more of a like melodic song than other songs we've written. I'm not really sure where that came from. I mean, it was still pretty early on in what we were doing. If you listen to Burger Time Classics or Beef or Grease Beast, like there was still more melody to it in a way that maybe it was more like my influence of like with like Crowbar and how heavy and melodic their riffs are. Probably came a bit more from that. I know like earlier on when I was writing, I was kind of consciously trying to think of like what's heavy and catchy. Queens of the Stone Age kind of does that. Not to say that we lean anywhere into that, but like it was definitely something on my mind of someone who's actually singing vocals and can play a heavy riff that's catchy. Yeah. So I guess that's where it came from. I can't remember exactly what was on my mind when I was writing the other parts of that song, but the end of it for sure was like a Pantera, Meshuggah, like earworm.
Well, hell yeah. And yeah, like I said, one of my favorite songs, but it just, yeah, really cool to hear that. Hey, by the way, we have a new guest here, Aaron. How you doing?
Hey, yeah. Sorry, I've been running errands and I got the Central Eastern mixed up. So
Hey, it happens a lot, and that's probably our fault. Sorry about that.
I've just been running around a lot this weekend, getting ready for an engagement proposal, family, and work stuff. So
Well, hey, congrats to whoever's being engaged. We were just kind of talking a little bit about you a lot. Actually, they were talking a lot of shit. But the thing is, we really had to mention, we kind of want to talk about what kind of makes your rig for Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol. Like, what is your sound, and how does that fit in Leo's sound for his six string? And how do you kind of make that work? And like, kind of what are your favorite pedals or gear? Any thoughts you have on that?
yeah, I guess the the biggest part of the whole sound is the fact that I play a lot of full chord extensions on the bass. That's probably the single biggest contributing factor. Other than that, I don't know that it's a generic bass tone. It's pretty dirty. There's a lot of distortion. And when you play chords in the register that the bass is naturally sits in, and then you get a lot of distortion going on, there's just a lot of neat harmonic content happening. So certain intervals do special things, and then when you start to play slinky riffs or whatever, you're bending, and there's just a lot of chewy melodic texture going on, which I'm a massive fan of. Because the whole thing is just like pop music to me. So I always want it to be pretty and melodically interesting. I just happen to think that you can achieve that with a very distorted, low-tuned sound. I also refuse to play a 5-string. Because Leo put 4 strings on the bass, and I just think that's the way nature intended. So, like on "I'm the Fucking Man" off Doom Wop, on Big Dumb Riffs, and all the writing for the new record, I'm in a drop A tuning, which is kind of ridiculous for 4 strings because I'm just playing a standard string set, and that definitely makes some weird things happen with the strings and just how you're fretting notes and the way you can control those. Yeah, other than that, it's an Aguilar tone hammer, super distorted. For a while, it was a Rat. I've used all kinds of different amps and cabinet combinations, and I've blown them all up, plus some.
Sick.
So I don't know. I've used a lot of different stuff, and I think the sound has always remained very identifiable, or very, very Burger Patrol. I take a lot of cues from Lou Barlow and Dinosaur Jr. and John Giardinelli from Nails. Those guys are kind of, and then Casey Maxwell from Whores is another big influence. And then Peter, the bass player from Cherubs, is another big influence. You just want a big, massive, controlled low end, but then you also have to have this mid-range or high end that cuts through and allows you to get all that melody work across. Those are the most important aspects of the whole thing. And I'm fairly aggressive in my left and right hands, and there's just a lot of emotion or feeling there, fighting the instrument a little bit and being comfortable with it.
Yeah. I think you froze.
Yeah.
That was fun while it lasted. Well, if he does come back, I do want to get into this question. What are your biggest challenges as a band to get? Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that was awesome. I think I'm gonna move into the next question, but also like, dude, your tone, your sound with Rickshaw's is just a fucking incredible, and the way you guys worked together dynamically is like never really seen anything like it. And I was so surprised when I actually saw your guys set up on live stage because I just never would have guessed just by listening. But you guys got something fucking special going on, and just can't wait to see you out here. But we got a big question for you guys.
Yeah.
What is your guys' biggest challenge as a band? What is something that maybe individually you all have to work with yourselves, or just going forward? Like, do you just consider it as like a slog, as something you keep on having to go towards, or is there like little milestones that you're kind of trying to hit?
It's funny. I think a lot of people would think that, or at least I'm just speaking on myself. Milestones like ACL or levitation or playing shaky knees or selling out Mohawk in Austin are like milestone. I don't ever think about it as a milestone because it's just something that's always turned on in my head every day, and it's just like what we do. And I'm happy that we're able to do things to that capacity. I think the hardest thing for me, like emotionally, is trying to and it's something I have to kind of let go of. Trying to not take it personally when people are like being like, when they like say, oh, you're not coming here, or you're not going here, or like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I know they don't understand everything that goes into what's going on, but I don't have the greatest patience. I don't ever I don't ever respond to it, but I do take it personally, and it sucks to feel like I'm doing what I made up a thing out of thin air that we're doing, that I get to do every day, and people still aren't happy with it. So it's like, well, fuck me. What the fuck else can I do? Like, That's
Yeah,
the hardest part.
it it goes in, you know, because it's like you're on the road and people are coming to see you and they've been listening to you forever and they're super stoked to see you. And then you get the, well, why haven't you guys blown up yet question. It's like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, we are out here, we are grinding. Like, it's just like, I know they don't mean it they mean it as a compliment, as like,
Yeah.
oh man, you guys are so good, you deserve to blow up. And it's like, and that's nice
Yeah.
to hear. But like, when it's framed that way, it's just like, man, do you think I'm not out here fucking trying?
Yeah.
That one,
There's
and
a
then
lot to go into. Yeah. The oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. Oh, yeah, and I was just gonna say, and the other one, like, you know, since we just announced dates, and it's just like, you know, with the way things work now and the Spotify algorithms, it's like sometimes people do find out about you right after you've come through their city. But when it's like a place we've played 6 or 7 times in the last 5 years, and we were like, oh, when are you coming to Detroit? It's like, I mean, we were there a month ago.
Fair. It's fair. Yeah,
I know it probably sounds stupid to say that, but it's like it's like, you know, when we are on the road and we're in the van 6 to 8 hours a day, and then you show up and you do a sound check, and then, you know, it's very nomadic. It's very like, we're, you know, everything is the same but different every day, and you get the same questions with people, and they're super stoked to see you, and that's awesome. And maybe that's more of where my mindset is now. It's like, I like being on the road. I'm comfortable being there. That's where I want to be. But when you come home, and then everyone's like asking you the same questions, or like, how was touring, this and that. And it's like the same thing about asking like anybody's job, I guess, or not. And I know it's different. People are excited. They want to live vicariously through the lavish, cool life of a touring musician. It is not that. It is. We're just like, I'm happy. I'm so happy and stoked that we get to make a living doing this. We make money doing it. That's probably the hardest part, you know, making sure you have money for merch, making sure you have money to pay a sound guy or a roadie or a merch person, making sure you have money to rent a van, making sure you have money for hotels and gas and food, and doing all the accounting work to make sure that all those puzzle pieces fit in and everyone's getting paid, you know, the best that we possibly can do. And it is it's better than everybody else. All my peers, at least, except for like dudes like the Sword or whatever. Like, it's definitely not that, but we do or it's very blue collar fucking touring.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys are just doing it. It's DIY, and so you're figuring out your own sound and just how you get out there. You have any thoughts there, and anything that, like, because you're the newest member of, you know, the project. What has kind of been the challenge for you, or do you have any thoughts about the upcoming tours or the release of the album? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, you just echo all of that. I would say one of the hard parts is the writing. That's not always easy. You know, you build a body of work or you create a sound, and then now, whoops, I wrote some songs that I think are cool, and now I've got to put out a record every year and pull that rabbit out of the hat again. And like, well, how much more of that do you have left in the tank, you know? Because I don't think any of it's meant to last forever, just physically or whatever. So that the creative thing can be tough, because it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't like people that say a whole lot. It's like, what do you have to say? Who the fuck wants to listen? But like, really, what do you have to say that's like fresh or new or different that somebody else hasn't already said or hasn't already dealt with? So finding like new or creative ways to express that aren't redundant or burnout, or then like when new emotions creep in, like feeling burnout or jaded or angry at things, and trying to figure out how to convey that while still making music that somebody wants to listen to, where they don't put on a record and go, these guys are fucking assholes, like, you know. So maybe that's something at this point in the career that maybe I'm starting to think about as we're doing like principal writing for the next album. You know, I think Doomwalk was a really great record, like cool poppy masterpiece. You know, I think there's some really good songs on there, and people really like it. And then Big Dumb Riffs, we just tried to undo all of that, and people still liked it, but it's like we were trying to kind of fuck all that up, and now got to write another one, and it's like, does it ever end?
No.
Not that you want it to end, but it's like that can be stressful. Like, you know, we're going to do this again. I don't know
You
that
guys
I
have had
have
a
that
pretty
much left to
extensive,
say.
like,
You know,
yeah, you have a lot of albums out since 2017, so it's like I I totally get that. But it's just do what you guys gotta do. I think and if that means fucking taking a break so you can just tour and do the things you want to do, that's the shit. But also like, yeah, no, I get that. It's also maybe trying to like reconjure up something inside of you each time, and people are like, "Hey, come to our city, do all this stuff." Like, yeah, I get that.
yeah,
I think people are you do have a cult following. Like people fucking
for
love.
sure.
So like I feel like there's this ravenous, like people like once they find out about you, they're like, oh shit, yeah, those are the fucking guys. Like that's kind of everybody who knows you that I know. So
Yeah, we're very grateful for that. I guess balancing the big picture, or like, I do think we've got a really solid body of work, and in the grand, by the time that maybe enough eyes are on it to make it monetarily worth it, or for it to pay off, or when people stop asking when are you going to blow up, it's like, whoa, I've got to write that body of material again at the same quality level or whatever, as new eyes are attracted to it. And so just churning out like a high level of work with some emotional or intellectual authenticity as it's constantly gaining new eyes, when I think that I've already written a bunch of cool stuff that I'm super happy with, if I only play those songs for the rest of my life.
okay.
So that's a neat, weird thing to balance and wrap your head around.
Well, hell yeah. Hey, by the way, thank you so much for all taking this time like to do this show day before Thanksgiving. I know we're all at our houses, or you guys are in Austin and doing this thing, but yeah, I appreciate that. But I always have one question for everybody. I just got to ask, how do you individually deal with imposter syndrome? Maybe like stacking get yourself against somebody else, another band, because everybody deals with it in their own way. When you don't think you're stacking up like properly to how much work you put in compared to somebody else, because everybody deals with this. How do you individually all deal with it?
I mean, I've had that shit I've had that my whole life, and just wanting to like, it's funny thinking that you're going to get validation from somebody, or hoping that you are, and then you do get it, and then it doesn't end up helping or changing it. As it does change, it just like reminding yourself to be open and shutting up sometimes and listening to people and slowing shit down and just trying to be more organic with just life, and not being so strategically this, and this. I have to do this. That's probably where I'm at with imposter syndrome. Is just like taking a deep fucking breath and just like chilling out sometimes, which is so hard for me to do, but working on it.
Oh yeah. And then how about you, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, of the many horrible things my head does to me on a daily basis, imposter syndrome, I've been fortunate that in like as a drummer, I've gotten imposter syndrome as like in like, oh well, I've been doing this for so long. Why am I not better at this instrument? Why is this 15-year-old kid on fucking Instagram doing shit that I couldn't even dream of doing? But like, and for that, I just usually just practice. But with the band, the band itself, I've never felt any kind of an imposter syndrome thing, because we work hard and we make fucking really good music. So like when we get to do these like Leo was saying earlier, like these things that are considered milestones, like in some senses, we've been lucky to be in the right place at the right time or meet the people. But at the end of the day, it's like all of that is stuff we've earned, in my opinion, time and time again. So like I just have to, with myself, I just remind myself to, going things like going back to the fundamentals and remembering to breathe and this and that, the other. And like, I think I remember, gratitude always, like remembering how lucky that we are to be, I'm 34 years old and I still get to drive around in a fucking Chevy Express van and play music to people who seem to want to pay money to come and see it. And like, I've got a lot of homies who fell out of the game, long before this point. And I just count my blessings to not be tired of this and not, still want this every single day. Like,
Preach.
yeah.
Yes, that ending bit for sure. Yes. And yeah, how about you, Aaron?
I used to have a poster of Mark Bolan on my wall as a kid. It's the one where he's sitting in the chair, like with his boa and his leather, whatever, and there's like a tiger statue beside him, and it's from a magazine article or like an interview, I think, and it's a still from a photo shoot they did. And at one point, the interviewer asked him, "Mark, how do you deal with all this?" Is right after Electric Warrior came out, and the interviewer is like, "Mark, how do you deal with the success or the struggle and the writing?" He's like, "How do you deal with it?" And he kind of like sheepishly like looks at the camera and smiles, and almost under his breath, he goes, "Oh, I could write number ones forever." And I think as far as imposter syndrome goes, I don't know that you don't owe anybody anything. And you have to have that little bit of like whatever negative attribute you could call, "Oh, I could write number ones forever." You have to have a little bit of that in yourself. Otherwise, I don't think you've got what it takes to just show up and do the thing and punch the time card. So I don't think about it like that. I always loved that picture, and I loved that little interview. I used to watch it all the time because I've always wanted to write good music that people want to listen to and makes people go nuts. And then you get on stage in front of a crowd and you can control it. And it's a little bit of like rock star thing. And to know that you have the ability to do that is like a really special, cool thing to recognize. And then you just kind of have to trust yourself and feed it a little bit. You can't let it get out of hand because then you're just an ass. But I think it takes a little bit of ass in order to do the thing. Sorry, there's a thing happen. And I think that kind of protects you from the imposter syndrome some.
Yeah.
And isolates you from it.
Nobody owes anybody shit. We're all anything you do for nice for somebody else is just, none of us have to be here. None of us have to do any of this, Like we could all just die if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, this has been speaking of Thanksgiving coming up tomorrow. Thanks so much for being on the show. And you guys got your tour coming up. Gonna be supporting King Buffalo. You're gonna be out in New York. Cannot wait to see you out here with Lip Critic. We're so fucking pumped on that show. And
yeah, that's gonna be.
Yeah. Anything else you guys gotta say? Anything you want to mention before we get the hell out of here?
I guess I can too. This the usual, like, you can find us on Instagram at RICKSHAW Billy and the Boys, and I guess just go to rickshawbilliesburgerpatrol.com if you can remember the full name and how to type out Billy as an IE and not a Y, and find all our socials and check out merch and follow us and do whatever the fuck you want. We'll be at your city at some point and we'll have fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, go buy all their shit, everybody. Yeah, hey, thanks so much, guys, for doing this. And I know, like, sometimes the Zoom interviews are annoying as hell, but really appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, this was a great one.
Hell yeah, man.
Thanks
for having us.
Yeah, well, I'll see you in person, so we don't have to do like the weird Wi-Fi thing to talk to each other. We'll have a beer or whatever, all right?
Hell yeah.
Have a good holiday.
Yeah,
all right, take care, man. You too.
Rock and roll.
Hey, for the love of God, please subscribe to our Patreon for like $1 a month. That would help out a lot. Podcasts are, fun fact, really expensive to run, and I really enjoy doing this. So if you want to keep on seeing stuff like this, help me out. Also, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.